Hello, let's talk about how we will use Studio 5000 Logic Emulate. So again, in the real world, we want a trainer. We want to be able to simulate and use the real thing, real hardware, real everything, because that's the real world. But sometimes you want to just play around and you don't have the hardware available. Well, Rockwell has something called Studio 5000 Logic Emulate. And I'm going to show you how to set that up. I've already have one set up, and if I click on this here, go to properties, you can see if I hit IO data, I have a program. Oh, I gotta get in run mode, sorry. So this is options, run mode, slot one. So now you can see it's in run. If I go to properties, if I click on input ones, you see an output and an output turns on. So I have a logic in here, and I can clear all the inputs, turn them off, and then get out of there. But look, I have a simple setup. And if I can go back into program mode on slot 0, okay? To add, let's talk about how when we first set it up, these two things, RS links and FT links, are going to probably be in slot 0 and 1. I kind of don't like them there because in the real world, slot 0 is always the processor. So if you want to move this, what you need to do is go into RS links, and everything is connected via the virtual chassis. So if I go to connections and add a new virtual backplane, add new, let me just walk through and maybe just delete this. And so I've stopped it. Now that it's removed, what I would need to do is go into virtual backplane, add new, hit OK, and then here, so it asks me what slot do I want this at. Notice it doesn't give me 0 and 1 because something's already there. I like hiding this, so I'll put down 16. I hit OK, and now this is running. And if I close, you should see that the RS links shows up here. So straightforward. You need that in there in order to communicate. Again, when you first pull this out, it's probably going to be at 0, but that's how you set that up. Go to virtual backplane, and you can see I have stuff set up here. If I want to add the processor right away, all I got to do is right-click, hit Create, and I can put in Emulate Controller. It will only let me put one controller in, but hit OK. It will allow me to do that. So if I hit Remove, let me hit Remove. Yes. See if it'll let me. May not because it's a Rockwell product. If I go and hit create, just do it, yeah. Go and hit create, do emulate controller. You have to give it the revision you want. So I'm running 30, so I'm gonna put in 30. Everything else you can keep the same. You can give it a name, I guess. But no. Hit next. I would just keep everything the same. It shows up. Sometimes this little battery light blinks, but that's normal. If I want to add a simulator, I just right click, hit create, and I can put a little IO simulator in here. All right, slot 2, hit OK. I would just have it set up, and you can give it a name. Test 2, hit finish. And now I have 2 simulators, okay? And we'll talk about how we add the IO in a second. So if this one here might be up here, but this is where you would need to go into Factory Talk View Studio. If you have an HMI, go into RS Links Logic, communication setup. And under the communication setup, right click here in properties, and you can auto configure or determine what slot you want that in the virtual backplane. I'll just keep it at 15 or hit auto configure so it's there. But that's how you would change that and move that around. But I'm not doing an HMI, so that's what that is right there. Okay, so RS links there, got my IO simulators. Now, how would we do this in creating a program? I'm gonna pull up my old document. I'm gonna pull up, so if you know how to create a program, the controller will say emulate on it. So if I want to change a controller type, if I go in and find the emulate, that's where it is. Okay, so I'm just going to say cancel because I've already created something. So, and you can change the chassis type to a 10 slot or whatever. This really doesn't matter. So I'm going to keep it the same. But you would just, literally will say emulate as a controller type. And it shows up here. Now to add the simulator, that's a little bit different. Make note of this, and I'm going to screenshot this because when I add the second one, it'll come in handy. So snipping tool, yep, we got this. And I'm going to leave that right here because there's a certain way of setting all this up. So you would think you would go in, and because this says 1789 sim, it will show right up. Well, 1789 sim, nothing shows up. What you need to do is do a 1756 generic, or module generic module. Okay, why does Rockwell complicate it like this? I don't know, but this is what you need to do. Slot 2, give it a name, sim2, and the configuration should be in the screenshot we just did. So instance 1, change it to 2. Assembly instance 2, change it to 1. And configuration 16, make it a dint. Hit OK. And now you can see in the okay. Now you can see in the controller tags, local 2 input, and you have 2 datas. Now, I found nothing really showed up on 0. It only showed up on 1. I could have it configured wrong, but at least I know this works. Same with the output on the 0 tag. All right, and then we had configuration data as well if we needed to. But now if we go in and do programming, I can go in and I'm just going to copy this rung, and I'm just going to change this to a 2 and change this to a 2 just to demonstrate. And so now I can download. Well, you got to make sure you set your communication path to your emulate. So make sure you set that and hit download. And IO is okay. Put it to run mode. And you can see my 2 little simulations here. And if I double click on this and go to properties, IO data, you can see it toggles the bit right there. I'll keep that on. Hit OK. Go here. Properties, IO data, same thing. Okay. And if I click on a bunch of inputs here, you can kind of see them showing up here on the output side, and the outputs that are on. If I go to my controller tags, I can see on the inputs a bunch of extra bits that are on. And so now that we have some IO, we can simulate some more stuff, but this is just a proof of concept of setting up, because I didn't see any videos that really walk through how to set up the simulation cards. And again, I can go into here and hit program mode and turn off my outputs. And you can, well, in theory. Looks like it's staying on for some, because it's so a glitch of the simulator. All right. It's what it is. Good luck, and I hope this is helpful.